Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The message at this year's Mining Lekgotla was that South Africa is still the world's best mining address, but steps should be taken to build the future industry collectively while acknowledging past wrongs. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Chamber of Mines CEO Mike Teke said South Africa needed to acknowledge the past, but also build the future of mining together. What suggestions has he made to accomplish this?
There have been suggestions made over a period of time. And I think that one of the ways of acknowledging the past is to have some sort of memorial, like you have a Vietnam memorial in Washington. Because if you examine what's happened, people have died so that we could have a good time. I mean, our economy was built on very cheap labor. It was built on people, moving away from their homes, staying away for long times, living in single-sex hostels, huge risks when they went underground. And all that wealth creation, we are benefiting from in Joburg. And I think that something needs to be done to just acknowledge that. I know there are more urgent things that have to be done to take us forward. But I don't think that should be left behind. And it was once put to the Chamber of Mines by Bobby Gotzel that he thought, the names of those people who have died in action, as it were, on the mines should be acknowledged by some sort of memorial, just so we say, look, how these guys really did a fantastic job for our economy. And then with that acknowledgement, start going forward in a much better way. And already, you see pockets of excellence. You see the conversion of some of the single-sex hostels to family hostels. People who have been through them are really impressed. Some of the catering facilities are very good. I remember going into compounds as a youngster. They used to call them compounds, and they would have these enormous pots, with pop in it. And the only way they could manage this, they used to get shovels to shovel the pop. And I can remember the sorghum beer era when there was a prohibition on alcohol for blacks. But there was a sort of at a certain time they allowed them to start taking forms of alcohol, and one of the forms was the sorghum beer. And they would have these enormous containers, almost like a bucket, that they would drink out of. So it's all that terrible past that they were subjected to that helped us lay an economic foundation. The demands now, of course, have gone to the other end of the extreme. They're getting a bit excessive and fast and furious. But by the same token, I think that we need to build together because of that situation. You need to have a lot of patience, a lot of diligence, and, you've got to hurry as well.
NUM General Secretary Frans Baleni has called for an end to short-termism in terms of the labour market and the workforce. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, people want instant increases of an elaborate nature, and they want it now. And if you don't give it to them, they stay away from work for long periods, which really hurt the economy. And unless you're prepared for it with stocks, and you could lose out on a big customer base. Fortunately, with the 11-week strike that Northam had, and then followed by the 5-month strike in the Platinum Belt, where the 3 big majors didn't have 80,000 workers, people knew it was coming, and they sort of prepared for it. But if we have to have another one and another one, I think that we'll find ourselves losing our customer base. It'll really hurt us in a serious way. So this instant response that people are looking for, I think they need to go easy on it. They need to realize that they're damaging the prospects for themselves, from a job point of view, for their children, and for their children's children, because it's going to have a massive impact. You can't just build this back fast. We've had a base here, and you mustn't erode it. Fortunately, we are holding on pretty tightly, but if something has to happen now, it could be irreversible. So we've got to be very careful.
The amount of money that they're also asking for is not conducive for the amount of productivity that's being put out.
Yeah, productivity is the big thing at the moment. We're falling behind on competitiveness. So, there has been a time when you would say to the people demanding wages, make your demands, and then we will say what extra productivity you have to achieve to be able for us to be able to pay that. But those sort of negotiations don't take place that easily these days, and people want instant response to very high demands that just can't be met. So the whole system becomes paralyzed. And I think this instant short-termism people have to guard against, because it's not going to do us any good.
It sort of gives you the impression that anarchy is rewarded.
Yes, that was one point made by Franz Bellini. Please don't continue to reward anarchy, because then people will think that they must engage in anarchy in order to get a big benefit, and that is not a good message to send.
Now, a minister in the presidency, Jeff Radebe, has announced Operation Hurry Up in the mining sector. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I didn't realize the word Pakisa meant hurry up, but at the gala dinner of the Lekgotla, he explained, Pakisa means hurry up. We're modeling this on the Malaysian situation. We got a plan for the ocean and how to exploit that and make sure we do much better, from the ocean economy. But now we want to do the same with mining, but we want to give it shorter horizons. And we want to make sure that we've got ambitious GDP targets. But we need to do this collectively. So no matter what the pain there is, you've got to get that gain. And we've got to bring everyone in. We notice that this is a tripartite alliance. In most countries they think this is fantastic because, you've got government, business, and you've got labor organizing the Lekgotla. They're organizing it together. And they have invited AMCU to be very much part of it. AMCU, which was the missing party, there was an empty exhibition stand. They actually offered it to them and said, this is yours, just come and take it. But of course AMCU didn't arrive. But there's still this mature outreach to AMCU, and must continue, that they must continue to outreach, and they must make sure that no matter what the pain, they get AMCU to the party as well, because it'll make a huge difference. In the meantime, they've, from a business and a government and a part union point of view, they are a long way down the road. And this Pakisa means hurry. So hurry up, I think, is a good message at the moment, because, this is the third Lekgotla. So we've had these problems building up over time. We don't want to take this much further. Obviously, large sections of the mining industry continue. They even continued during the platinum strike. But you don't want a repeat of that and a spread of that. There was no sort of objection or any protest raised by AMCU to this latest Lekgotla. So I think that there are sort of indications, though, that it's still pretty ambitious out on the platinum belt. And we hear now from Northern, which was always an 80% National Union of Mine Workers platinum company. They did have an 11-week strike, last year going into January the 29th, so it was the longest they've ever had. But it was 80% National Union of Mine Workers, NUM. Apparently, that actual number of union members at Zondereinde, their operation in the Western Limb, has now been whittled down a bit, and AMCU now represents about 14%. If they get to 15%, of course they've got to verify it, that's a recognition threshold, which will mean they will have put their foot into a new camp. And it is a bit worrying. You wonder, what is the outcome going to be? Is this just union rivalry, or is there an element of power hungriness here? And are we forgetting about how important it is for the South African economy and to do things and put South Africa first? But we're jumping ahead of ourselves a bit. We're thinking that something may happen out of that. Hopefully it doesn't, because
maybe it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, but we're hoping that we can hurry up as a unified force in literal and figurative terms, because the more you talk, the more people accuse you of having a talk shop. And that is one of the things they don't want this Lekgotla to become. They want action out of it. And that's why they wanted some sort of confirmation that the MPRDA, which is the legislation, would be signed by the state president. But the minister explained, look, the president's office has got that now. It's their prerogative to go through it. And we're just going to have to wait. But people are looking for certainty now. Otherwise, we're not going to get the investment that we need. And I think they want to go on a roadshow again, and they can't do that under these circumstances where there's uncertainty.
Well, thank you for your insight, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.